This is things you might have heard from the Conversation Project, your home for headline news, information, and pop culture references that are worth chatting about. And today, on this Monday, as always, 10 stories for 2 extra days. I don't know why that always adds up, but 10 stories of 8 for the rest of the week. And we have those stories for you, including, yeah, there are some Trump adjacent things because there must be, but we are highlighting JFK's family today. Also, Angel Reese's team and Ice Spice and Latto's beef, which you may care about. I don't particularly care about, but the numbers don't lie. So we're talking about it because you say it's conversational. Plus, as I say, 7 of the stories, 2 of them are Trump adjacent going forward. Now, let's get into these headlines for the day, the 8th of September, 2025. And going into, I guess, the weird, odd way we work things out in these days. Remind you real quick before we get into those headlines that our headlines are produced and reproduced and also our background at our website. This is a conversationproject.com. You can also check out things there, including our partnerships page. What may help us out is, keep these things going. And of course, our sponsors page. Our main sponsor for the day, our spotlight sponsor, as we call them, is Ground News. Go to this is the conversationproject.com. So that's Ground News. And you can get in on great news for great people. That is you. If you're not getting the news you want to see, or you're getting more of the news you want to see and understand what people are actually seeing that aren't you, try Ground News. Get 40% off their plans, and we get a small commission for it. Let's get into the Conversation Project and the news headlines. Oh, by the way, I'm here this morning. And the studio has not been upgraded. So that means I am not one of the historic winners of the $1.79 billion jackpot that had a 3-month drought. It is over as of Saturday. Sold in Missouri and Texas, 2 tickets split in the $1.8 billion jackpot. The 3-month stretch is now done. The winning numbers, by the way, 11, 23, 14, 61, 62. Powerball was 17. They say each winner can choose the annuity or a reduced lump sum going back and forth, which is now split. Lump sum was basically going to be around $8 million or something like that. Now will be something about half of that for each person. The Powerball jackpot ranks among the largest in history. I think the second for Powerball, and the sales start to add up when it gets close to that number. Like we say often, someone's going to win eventually, and it's probably not us. Obviously, not I. Trump is walking back the war talk in Chicago, now saying we're not going to war, we're going to clean up our cities, signaling a rhetoric retreat from the sort of literal apocalypse now rhetoric he had for going into Chicago. Now, why Chicago? Chicago has one of the more popular, if you want to point to, crime cities, but by the numbers, it's not one of the top ones. It's just one of the ironic things there. Places like New Orleans and, oddly enough, Shreveport rank higher than Chicago, but Chicago and its state is run by a Democratic governor and mayor. Henceforth, it's getting the attack. It's also weighing in National Guard roles in other places and ICE local agencies and places like that, along many other places across the nation. So that's where things are pushing. That's where people are thinking about the federal overreach of the Trump administration and what they're trying to do. Officials in Chicago and protesters are condemning the rhetoric, basically just using the words to rattle his sabers, and potential federal deployments as unlawful overreach. Trump's comments are following days of headlines about sending troops to Chicago, Baltimore, New Orleans. Of course, one of the biggest issues with Chicago happening was, as Trump is saying, I'm fixing Chicago next because he fixed DC. Chicago had a very wild Labor Day weekend with many reports, many shootings, and a big murder weekend after having many weekends of less crime. Conservative outlets are pointing to the pushback as something that is just maybe they don't want to get the cities fixed. Mainstream outlets are noting that he walked back the war language while keeping the crackdown measures in there. So he might be being a bit more nice about it, but he still wants to go into Chicago and take the troops there. One of the odder things about the ICE raids is in your vision, in your mind, what you're looking at, what you think you see is a crackdown on Hispanic people from south of our border. But in actuality, it really is a nice raid on people who have basically worked out visas. And there's actually a big issue with people from South Korea, as Seoul is now dealing with 300 South Korean nationals who were detained at a massive ICE raid at a Hyundai plant up in upstate, because it happens. So while we complain about the ICE and administration raiding Home Depots and raiding farms and raiding places like that, they're actually doing a better job of being equal opportunity ICE agents than we think they are. In this case, a very large swath of people working at a plant in a car plant. One of the largest single-site immigration actions in history, it was, and diplomatic friction, emergency talks with South Korea, with many detainees subcontracted from with visa statuses who were basically valid, which is what makes this thing a bit more complicated. Because also with the Trump administration and with the folks who are Hispanic, they seem to have paper, they seem to be working on things, seem to be in the process of working towards legal visas when they show up for an appointment and get sent home while working the actual process. Logistics for getting all these people home is being worked out as South Korea is working out the paperwork to voluntarily deport all these people, chartering a plane, getting ready to take them back to home, South Korea. Now, the biggest issue is the contractors and how to get there. This is not the let's say story of a mule driving people across the border and making money off folks from the South. This is something similar, but not the same. Flying people over here from South Korea, putting them on a visa status and having them work in a very not well-natured working environment to work off their time. White House frames this deal as enforcing hiring laws while preserving foreign investments. Seoul press to clear the visa pathway going forward. One of the biggest things here issues is, are these jobs that we're missing because the problem is these illegals are taking our jobs? Are these really the jobs and conditions that the illegals are taking from Americans? Federal officers dismantled key structures to a 44-year-old White House peace vigil pre-dawn on Sunday after Trump ordered it, taking it down because Trump doesn't like homeless people or things that look kind of trashy. This thing's been outside the White House for 44 years. It's gone. Park police removed a tarp and a makeshift shelter, briefly detaining a volunteer. Signs and the flags are still remaining there, although they are probably there long. Supporters partially reassembled the vigil later, following legal challenges and citing First Amendment protections. The action followed conservative media complaints that labeled this as an eyesore and a security risk. Long-running anti-nuclear vigil has survived multiple administrations, and its status is now hinging on enforcement rules and litigation. Will it stay there? Maybe, maybe not, because free speech, things like that. Is an eyesore? Probably is, which is probably the point. Is it a security issue? It may be, and that may be officially get this thing taken down. We teased a bit on RFK's family, and we're calling it in right now because the family is calling him to resign because they believe he is a public threat. Names like Kerry Kennedy and Joe Kennedy III have publicly urged Health Secretary RFK Jr. to resign, calling his actions to threat to America's health. Statements followed a bruising Senate hearing over vaccine policy and personnel moves at the CDC and HHS. Former Surgeon General Jerome Adams is also out there criticizing Kennedy's approach and undermining science-based guidance. Essentially, all the smart people have been pushed away, and so all the not so smart people are saying lots of crazy things, and all the things are happening all at once. Allies for Kennedy are arguing that he's pushing for transparency, but bipartisan blowback is growing. Literally, the Democrats and Republicans are saying, "You're crazy. Why are you doing this? This makes no sense." The feud between the family and the man underscores a deep rift inside America's most famous political family and broader public health debates, because what RFK Jr. is saying is kind of dangerous. It's kind of unproven, seems kind of wrong to me. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. If I were, I'd probably been fired by RFK Jr. Quick pause in the work right here. I have on my side of the screen, I can see the actual chat up. And so good morning to Gilbert Glenn out there in Knoxville. Thank you so much for joining us on this live feed. And if you are enjoying this, make sure you like the video as it comes down so that the algorithm will show that it's good enough to see. If you like it just in general, it's good as well. It also shows me that I did a good job today. So if you click the like button, not just Gilbert Glenn, but anybody out there, just click it like so I get more encouragement to do the right things. And discouragement to do the wrong things, comments help as well. If you share it directly with other people who enjoy these types of things, that'd be awesome as well, because they can get a chance to see what's going on and understand, and maybe they'll like and share as well. The big thing I need you to do is subscribe if you're on whatever platform. We're on X and we're on Facebook, and that's how we get the interaction. You guys, you tell us what stories in the feed, tell us what are worthy of talking about. But the big kicker is YouTube, and we are growing pretty steadily these days. Not going to that big milestone, because it was a big milestone we wanted to hit for this year, but we are glad to have you in the queue. So if you want to join there, also join them on YouTube and join the YouTube, join the channel, if you will. That also helps us as well by giving us the extra funds. It's cheaper to go there than going to the buy me a coffee site if you want to. So save a couple bucks on your membership styles there as well. Now, let's get on with more news, because 5 more stories to go. The Chicago Sky actually benched Angel Reese for the first half versus Las Vegas last week for comments deemed detrimental to the team. Reese apologized, saying her remarks were taken out of context and amid a frustrating season. She missed the second half due to a back issue, so the team said that post-game. The partial suspension follows an early discipline and puts the young roster under sharper scrutiny late in the year. Sky are framing the move as protecting locker room standards while giving Reese a path to reset. If you remember, famously back at LSU, Reese had some last-minute beef with her coach there that went a little weird. And apparently, in her second year in the league, the ladies' league, some of those sort of issues are resurfacing. Many people have talked about Angel Reese not being the most kindest person in the locker room, and maybe that's the case. But this is not so much a shut up and dribble situation. This is a bigger deal. We'll see whether she can carry the league, and sometimes by herself without her compatriot and sometimes frenemy Caitlin Clark being out for the rest of the season. And if the stress of the ladies' game is anywhere near the stress of the men's game, and some folks who are put on these pedestals can actually handle it. Next 2 stories are VMAs adjacent, although I'm a little bit out of the demo for the VMAs. Lady Gaga, although they're not actually there, but Lady Gaga had to cancel a concert last week, but minutes before the show went on in Miami, before curtain, their vocal strain and doctor's orders. Essentially, she was told to sit down and shut up because it was not going to happen that night. Venue confirmed last minute call on Instagram and said new date refunds will be forthcoming for all in Miami. Gaga apologized to fans in a detailed statement about protecting her long-term vocal health. The cancellation came days before the New York dates and the pre-recorded VMAs performance. That already done, but still there were other things in some bigger markets that needed to happen. Entertainment outlets framed it as antagonizing decision after 2 prior Miami shows early this week. So she put the work in for 2, but she just could not handle it with so many things happening. Like I said, she had already pre-recorded her performance for the VMAs, so that was flawless because it was. But she did get a big win out there last night as well. She won a bunch of stuff. I think she dominated essentially with the awards at the VMAs this year. Meanwhile, also VMA related, because apparently they performed together last night to show that the beef is over. Ice Spice and Latto have ended this with a collaboration called Gyatt. Go ahead. This is a story I literally don't care about, but you guys put it up there with your responses, so we were talking about it. This is about conversations. You say it's conversational. I disagree. However, Ice Spice, who I only know exists because she did a commercial with Ben Affleck for Dunkin' Donuts, and Latto, who I don't know exists until this story popped up, have teamed up with their years-long beef now being shuffled away with a new wrestling-themed video directed by Hyundai World, featuring influencer cameos and quick cut swagger. Media outlets have framed the drop as a savvy Deontay that broadens each artist's audience. Early reactions lean celebratory, and fans are praising the hook and the visual concept. I've seen a picture of it. I've not heard the music. I don't care. Now, Gyatt positions itself as both rappers as strong fall release cycles and heavy streaming competition. I believe they performed this last night at the VMAs. Didn't watch it. Don't care. Moving on to something that I did watch and care much more for. Football. Week 1 football has been a wild ride for the NFL, and last night's Sunday night football game was one that did not disappoint if you could stay up late for it. But the big story of this, not so much the Josh Allen pulling it out at the last minute, it is Lamar Jackson as he shoved a handsy Bills fan during the game last night, or towards the end of it. 29-year-old DeAndre Hopkins touchdown late in the third sealed it for the Bills. Lamar Jackson actually had an issue with a celebrating fan in the end zone, and he slapped the fan in the head, or the fan slapped him in the head, and so he basically slapped him back. It was captured on NBC broadcast, so all was there. There was no penalty assessed to Jackson. Stadium security ejected Bills fan pretty much quickly, and post-game, Lamar Jackson said he let his emotions get the best of him and noted he should have let security handle it. The problem was, it happened during a high point for the Ravens. So that was there. Baltimore was up 34-19 when it happened, and of course, losing 41-40 with a Matt Pratt walk-off field goal at the late rally. Like I said, the real story should be Josh Allen'ing it and being the highest ranking fantasy football players for the weekend. We'll see what happens tonight, tonight's Monday night game, and see if someone can outrank him. But right now, in the lead, if you're following at our other website for our other podcast, Tuesday Afternoon and General Manager at TuesdayAfternoonGeneralManager.com. This week's stats are going to lead with a whole lot of Josh Allen and some Lamar Jackson as well, as they came in late to overtake many other quarterbacks and other scores. But that's a promo for another time. This past week, Giorgio Armani died at Milan at the age of 91, closing a 5-decade run redefining modern elegance. Obituaries highlight his soft-shouldered tailoring and red carpet dominance across various eras. Tributes poured in from fashion houses and celebrities. A private funeral is scheduled in Milan soon. Industry coverage notes leadership transitions and creative churn across luxury brands such as Armani is passing. After Armani's passing. So with that, it's going to be a brand new day, a brand new world, and a whole new way of working for fashion going forward. Features detailing his real estate portfolio and carefully planned succession for Armani's empire have been out there. Armani knew what he was doing and knew where he was going and wanted to make sure things were great when he left, and he's done that. So if you're a fashion consumer, lover, or like just the curious, quirky things, this was conversational. Happy trails to you, Giorgio Armani. Quick stop into looking into our spotlight sponsor for the day, which is Ground News. Ground News will offer you great things, lots of things, awesome things in the news. News coverage that you might have missed because you are siloed, or there's just so much stuff out there you can't really sift through it. So if there's a story that you care about, whether it's local, national, or on the international scene, they have it aggregated. They aggregate news stories. They give you stories from across the swath. They tell you who's covering it, how they're covering it, and who's behind the people covering it. And they'll tell you more if you buy into some of their plans, including their Advantage plan, which has all the news features, including their blind spot feature. Say that 3 times fast. The blind spot feature allows you to see what stories are being overly covered by your news outlets and undercovered by your news outlets, and vice versa for the ones that you don't check out. So the blind spot of being a person who watches more conservative news media means you see what you see from there, but then you can see what the blue folks are showing to their folks as well. It's a novel concept. It's a great concept. You get 40% off those plans by just using our link at this is a conversationproject.com/ground news. This is a conversationproject.com/ground news, and check it out today. This is an affiliate link, so we get a small, tiny cut for what's going on. So check it out, and you'll see your news coverage get better in your inbox or in your phone for your apps for Android and for Apple, or just right here on your website when you check big sites. It's Ground News, and we are glad, proud, happy that they are happy to sponsor us in our endeavors. And that's it. Kind of rocky start, ran a little late, all sort of things, had a kind of rush to get stories in there, and actually supplanted the story about the Japanese monarch, the first male Japanese monarch to basically make it to adulthood in centuries and generations. And since they're all basically girls, he may be the last one for a while, to put in Lamar Jackson, because Lamar Jackson smacking a guy in the head is always interesting. In the meantime, thank you so much for being with us for this Monday, September the 8th, 2025 edition, and for any future editions, past editions as well, of things you might have heard, plus anything we do of the hot takes. If you want to follow us at our website, this is conversationprod.com. You can find links to other places we can be found, including on TikTok, because that's where most of the hot takes pop up there, because we do have a lot of coverage on TikTok. YouTube is our bread and butter, so make sure you're following us there on YouTube for both the shorts and the regular things all day long. Now, we love you. We mean it so much, and we can't do this without you. Much love to my boy Josh, who just had a thumbs up, a like to that one. Glad that you're on watching us today. And of course, Gilbert Glenn, keep on showing up. Give me some comments. Tell me what we're doing well and not so well, so we can keep it going. We hit the 20-minute mark, so we're going to wrap up for today. More news, more coverage, more conversational topics that might be missed by the mainstream media. We'll get to tomorrow with things you might not have heard.